Welcome everyone, join us today as we explore the life and legacy of Donovan Leitch, the Scottish singer-songwriter whose voice, poetry, and imagination bridged folk, psychedelia, and pop. So let's dive in. Donovan, born Donovan Phillips Leitch on the 10th of May 1946, in Maryhill, Glasgow, Scotland. Born to parents Donald and Winifred, his family heritage was a blend of Irish and Scottish roots. As a young child, Donovan contracted polio, which left him with a limp, an early hardship that sharpened his introspective sensibility. His family relocated to Hatfield, Hertfordshire, in England, during his youth, providing him exposure to the English folk and jazz scenes. Growing up, he absorbed traditional Scottish and Irish songs at home, listened widely to radio, and showed early interest in drawing, poetry, and music. By age 14, he taught himself guitar, and began writing songs, carrying a desire to live freely and travel rather than remain confined to school or conventional paths. He enrolled in art school, but the call of the road proved stronger and Donovan soon left formal education to devote himself to music, busking, and wandering. Donovan's early years saw him a regular at local folk clubs, performing in coffee houses, and slowly building a repertoire of songs shaped by Guthrie, Eliot, Dylan, and traditional folk. In 1964, his performances and reputation grew to the point where Peter Eden and Jeff Stevens offered him management and publishing support. That led to a recording contract with Pye Records, and an early demo that included Catch the Wind and Josie. He made his national television debut on Ready Steady Go in 1965, introducing his gentle voice and acoustic presence to a wider audience. The folk scene was alive, and Donovan fit naturally into it, yet he would soon expand beyond its boundaries. Donovan's first single, Catch the Wind, in 1965, reached number 4 in the UK and established him as a promising young folk artist. Soon after was Colours, also number 4, and Universal Soldier, a cover of Buffy St. Marie's anti-war song, which hit number 5 in the UK. These early successes showed both his melodic gift and his readiness to address social themes. In 1966, Donovan shifted direction. He joined forces with producer Mickie Most, evolving toward a fusion of folk, pop, and psychedelia. His single, Sunshine Superman, topped the US Billboard Hot 100 and reached number 2 in the UK. Later that year, Mellow Yellow climbed to US number 2 and became one of his signature tunes. Between 1967 and 1969, Donovan delivered more classics, Hurdy Gurdy Man, Atlantis, and There Is a Mountain, among others. His 1969 compilation Donovan's Greatest Hits became one of his best-selling albums, reaching number 4 on the US Billboard 200, and staying on the chart for over a year. During this peak era, Donovan was also part of one of pop history's legendary gatherings. In early 1968 he joined the Beatles in Rishikesh, India, on their retreat with the Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. While there, Donovan taught John Lennon and Paul McCartney his distinctive fingerpicking guitar technique, a style he had absorbed from British folk traditions. Lennon soon applied it to songs like Julia and Dear Prudence, while McCartney used it in Blackbird, making Donovan's influence literally embedded in the Beatles' White Album. That same year, Donovan's career hit turbulence. In June 1966 he had been arrested for cannabis possession, the first high-profile British pop star to face such charges. The scandal drew tabloid attention, briefly barred him from traveling to the US, and forced him to navigate fame with a sharper awareness of its costs. As the 1960s gave way to the 1970s, Donovan's life and career entered a new chapter. His partnership with producer Mickie Most had been central to his mid-60s success, crafting the polished psychedelic folk pop sound behind Sunshine Superman, Mellow Yellow, Hurdy Gurdy Man and many of his most enduring hits. Yet by the end of the decade, tensions had begun to surface. Donovan was growing restless with the machinery of pop stardom and the relentless pressure to deliver commercial singles. By late 1969, he parted ways with Most, determined to follow a more organic, stripped-back path. He formed a trio called Open Road and set off on a Mediterranean tour, both as a musical experiment and a symbolic retreat from the excesses of fame. Their 1970 album, Open Road, offered what Donovan called Celtic rock, a rawer and more grounded sound far removed from the orchestrated productions of his hit years. The journey was documented in the film There Is an Ocean, which captured Donovan's yearning for freedom, simplicity, and new beginnings. In 1971, he released the double album HMS Donovan, a whimsical and poetic collection of folk songs, nursery rhymes, and literary settings that highlighted his gift for storytelling. Around the same time, he appeared on screen as the lead in The Pied Piper, and provided songs for Franco Zeffirelli's film, Brother Sun Sister Moon, both in 1972, further expanding his creative horizons beyond pop charts. By 1973, Donovan found himself working once again with Mickie Most, reuniting to create the album Cosmic Wheels. The record blended mystical themes with glam-era textures and returned him to commercial notice in both the UK and US. Later that year he released Essence to Essence, a more meditative work produced by Andrew Loog Oldham. His artistic restlessness was evident as he toured Japan, where a live album captured extended, electrifying versions of classics like Hurdy Gurdy Man. Over the next few years Donovan continued to explore new directions. 7Ts, in 1974, presented a narrative suite of songs with theatrical touches, while Slow Down World, in 1976, embraced quieter, more spiritual moods. In 1977, he issued a self-titled album under Most's Rack label in the UK, and Arista in the US, though it struggled to recapture the mass audience of his earlier years. That same year, Donovan briefly toured with progressive rock band Yes, a curious pairing that showed his continued willingness to experiment with settings outside of his folk-pop comfort zone. As the 1980s arrived, Donovan pushed into more socially conscious and experimental territory with Neutronica, in 1980, and Love Is Only Feeling, in 1981, albums that carried environmental and anti-nuclear themes and were released mainly in Europe. In 1984 he returned with Lady of the Stars, re-recording Sunshine Superman, and Season of the Witch, alongside new songs to reintroduce himself to American audiences. Throughout the decade he remained visible on the live circuit, appearing at events such as the Secret Policeman's Other Ball with Sting, Jeff Beck, and Eric Clapton, and performing at Glastonbury Festival in 1989, accompanied by the band Ozric Tentacles. This period revealed a Donovan unafraid to step outside his earlier psychedelic shadow, constantly searching for new ways to express his voice, whether through film, folk, spiritual themes, or collaborations that carried him beyond his 60s fame. Over his decades-long career, Donovan appeared in or contributed to over 30 film and television credits, including Don't Look Back, The Pied Piper, Message to Love, and many more. He also participated in variety shows, televised concerts, and documentary specials. Notably, he taught guitar techniques to the Beatles during the Rishikesh retreat, a legacy in itself. In 2008, the film, Sunshine Superman, The Journey of Donovan was released, combining archival footage and commentary, including his promotional film work for HMS Donovan. On a personal note, Donovan's romantic and family life was closely tied to his artistry. From 1966 to 1970 he was in a relationship with Enid Carl, and they had two children, Donovan Leitch Jr. and Ione Skye. Donovan had also dated Linda Lawrence years earlier, with fate bringing them back together, and in October 1970 they married. Together they had two daughters, Astrella Celeste and Oriole Nebula, and Donovan became stepfather to Linda's son Julian, she had with Brian Jones. Over the years, his family life in Ireland, having lived there for decades, lent stability even as his musical path twisted through public and private turns. By 2024, Donovan faced health challenges with chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, and restricted lung function. His spiritual and philosophical beliefs have also evolved. Raised Protestant, he later turned toward Celtic mythology, Buddhist influences, and activism rooted in ecology and goddess-centered themes. In interviews, he has described much of his later work as celebrating Mother Nature and critiquing modern extractive culture. In the 1990s, Donovan began to re-engage more publicly. A live album, Rising, in 1990, revived his presence. Troubadour, the definitive collection 1964 to 1976, in 1992, reintroduced many to his peak era. In 1993, he released One Night in Time, a more sensitive, adult collection. In 1996, he staged perhaps his boldest return, Sutras, produced by Rick Rubin. The album was deliberately sparse and meditative, stripping away studio excess to focus on voice, guitar, and atmosphere. Sutras re-established Donovan's credibility among critics, and confirmed that his creative flame still burned bright. Into the 2000s, Donovan issued Pied Piper, a set of reimagined folk and children's songs, Brother Sun Sister Moon, in 2004, whose soundtrack he had originally written in the 1970s, and importantly Beat Cafe, also in 2004, a jazz-tinged, beat poet-influenced album praised for its mood and subtle musicianship. He curated archival compilations such as Try for the Sun, The Journey of Donovan, and The Essential Donovan, preserving his legacy for new listeners. In 2010 he released Ritual Groove, a double album blending spoken word and groove. Later came Shadows of Blue, in 2013, and Eco Song, in 2019, the latter a climate-themed anthology credited to Donovan and Linda Lawrence. In 2021 he also released I Am the Shaman, produced and filmed by David Lynch, combining his poetic voice with Lynch's visual sensibility. In 2022, Donovan released Galia, The Sulan Sessions, a Celtic-inflected record recorded in Ireland with collaborators, including David Gilmour, who added guitar work. The album further underscored his interest in place, nature, and musical community. Honors have continued. In 2012, Donovan was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and in 2014, he joined the Songwriters Hall of Fame, both affirmations of his lasting influence. In 2005, Donovan also published his autobiography, The Hurdy Gurdy Man, a reflective and poetic memoir that gave fans insight into his childhood, rise to fame, spiritual journey, and life in music. As of 2025, Donovan resides in County Cork in Ireland, where he has lived for many years with his wife Linda Lawrence, still happily together after more than half a century. He continues to create independently, releasing works like Galia and supporting ecological, poetic, and spiritual projects. He faces health constraints from lung disease but remains engaged in select performances and is organizing 60th anniversary concert events, including a show on the 12th of October 2025 at Richmond Theatre in London. And there you have it. From folk singer to psychedelic visionary, Donovan's journey has never followed the beaten path. His music lives on, cherished by fans old and new, a timeless voice of wonder and imagination that inspires generations to dream beyond the ordinary. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos just like this. Take care and bye for now.